In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this crochet rose and designer-inspired flower box. You can download the designer label on the blog post listed below for free. And I'm working up a little bit of a sample for the start of your project. My camera was not cooperating. So the first thing you're going to do is make a magic ring and then crochet 12 double crochet into that ring and then slip to join. Once I've done chain 2, that does not count as a stitch. And then this is a very standard increase. If you've ever done a circle before, that's what you're going to be doing here. So I'm just going to be working in the back loops only and putting in 2 double crochet into each stitch around. And I've got the increase count on the blog post below. I'm not going to do more than this round with you. But you're going to make it big enough to fit the circumference of the box that you're working with. And you'll see here, let me do a couple more. And you're working in the back loop because the front loop is where the petals will be. See these, I'll take this out. These front loops that have not been worked is where the hook will go to start working the petals. And the increases will be, the row after this will be increase the first stitch, then single crochet the next, then do an increase, alternating around, and then the third round will be, actually this one, will be increase first and then single or double crochet just one in each for the next 2, and then increase. It's alternating, and you'll be doing that alternating with the gradual increase for each round until you reach the circumference of the flower box you're going to be using. And I do have measurement in the other video that I took for this tutorial. Let me work this up a little bit more because I will need to demonstrate the petal technique on this particular sample. And it's really, once you get it, it's pretty easy and it works up quite quickly. Might be able to get it done in a day or 2 depending on which yarn you're using and how big your rose will be. I'm going to crochet up enough that I can demonstrate the petal now, and I'm going to use a different color just so that it's easier for you to see. So you're going to be working from the center out to build your flower. So working in the center circle, you'll see all of the front loops that are exposed because I only worked the back loops for those double crochet. I'm going to insert my hook anywhere, it doesn't matter, any of those in that first round. Bring through the yarn. And just tie a knot somewhat loosely, not too loose but not too snug, because you need to be able to fit your hook in there and make a stitch. To yarn over chain 3. So this, all the petals are made the same except for the outside ones. I'll talk about those later. Chain 3, yarn over, go into that same loop that we just made the knot in, and make 2 double crochet. And that chain 3 does count as a stitch. So this first stitch has 3 double crochet because of that chain 3. Yarn over, and you can be working this in as you go, or pull it through to the other side. Okay, so that's stitch full. Next stitch right next to it, I'm going to work 3 double crochet in that stitch also. And then repeat that one more time in the next stitch. So that's 3 of these stitches that each has 3 double crochet in it. I think that's my, yeah, that's my slip stitch from the starting round. It's a little snug. 1, 2, and 3. Now that's the first row of a petal. Chain 3 counts as a stitch, yarn over, skip the first stitch, go into the second one, and make 2 double crochet in that stitch. So this next row is going to expand the petal. And I'm going to do 2 double crochet in each of the stitches all the way across. And make sure you get that chain 3 that was the very first stitch that was made. So you had 9 double crochet on the bottom, you should have 18 at the top. You see how it's flaring out now? Then the last row, chain 1, turn, and single crochet across. That's very simple. So just keep repeating these to build out your base. Let me finish this petal and then I want to show you something. Alright, so this is all my stitches, and then from here I'm going to look and count 1, 2, 3, 4. So that one I will slip stitch my petal into. That will help create the curve. And let me pull this through. I'm going to do a second one, and that will just be a distraction. You see how it's bending. So this first round we'll just have the 2 on it, folding in on each other. I want to show you the difference of the flower that I made in the crochet thread versus I worked up one in a category 4 so that you could kind of see how it would look. I know that crochet thread is not everybody's cup of tea, working with a small hook and a fine yarn or thread in this case. And if you do a category 4 yarn, it's going to look like this. and it will still be pretty, and it will have a lot of petals and whatnot, but it's not going to have quite as many as this. So your base will be, let me get a base here to demonstrate. I'm going to work up your base. This is not the size box I use, but this bottom, the round, will be somewhat close to the measurement of the box that you're using, and then the outer leaves are going to be what overflow and give it a really full look. And this, you kind of have to let it work it as you go and just see what size, or rather how many rounds you will need of your base of this to fit your box, and then also account for the outside edges. And I think it would be pretty, if you wanted the option, to crochet these in a leaf color and make it look more like a leaf. If you don't like this look, you can really get creative with how you're doing it, you know. Speaking of creative, I used brown brown on a flower, but I'm going for a very specific aesthetic look, because flowers, I don't think I've ever seen a flower this color, but that's what I wanted for my my mantle that I'm doing in this kind of a color. I didn't want anything bright flower colored on there. So that's an option you have. All right, let me get back to doing the second center petal. So I'm going to work this up the same. So that stitch that I slipped into, I'm going to do the chain 3, yarn over, not back into that stitch, but the one next to it, and then put 2 crochet in there, so that chain 3 counted as a double crochet. Put 2 in there, so 1, 2, 3, and then work 3 in the next 2 stitches. So let me work up this petal and put it to slip stitch it down in place, and then I have something else to share before I send you off on building your flower base. Alright, I finished this petal, and I'm going to do the same thing again with this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that will bring it right next to that first one I made. Slip stitch, and then you can start to see how they're folding in on themselves. And since these are so close together, I would just go into that next stitch up here and start again, slip, and then do your chain 3. You don't have to keep just cutting your yarn and having all these crazy ends to deal with afterwards. I should have, I think, the rest of the tutorial clear with the original that I recorded when making this one. I just want to make sure that you have a good understanding of how to do this. So I'll hopefully not repeat myself too much. I will edit out as best I can. You can just cut to the chase and get to making your own flower box, or if you just want the flower. I know that flower box isn't everybody's taste, but I really wanted to do one, especially for Valentine's Day. I think it's a fun, timely design, even if you're just making it for yourself, because you're special too, and you deserve to have pretty things for yourself all the time. Right, it's starting to look like I'm about at the diameter that I want, so I'm going to do a measurement. So let me close this up so I can get a little bit more accurate measurement. Slip into this stitch. I'm just over 4.5 inches, and I'm going to do a round of single crochet. But if I were to do another round of double crochet, these are about 3/4 of an inch, that would bring me way into the 5-inch mark, plus the single crochet would be a little bit too big for my box. So I'm going to stop here, chain one, and work my round of single crochet, and then start working on the petals of the row. So let me finish this round and I will be back. So I want to point out this little hole in the center. This is where you're going to be putting the pipe cleaner to secure it into the box. And I want to show you this now because once all the petals are on, you might have a difficult time seeing. But you'll put it through here, trim it however long you're going to need it to secure it in the end, and then you'll fold it over and secure it. You'll have to feel around through the petals to do that. That's how we're going to get it to sit securely in the finished box. All right, I've finished putting in the single crochet. You can do another measurement. It's coming right up very close to 5 inches. And then let's look inside the box. So you see how it almost fills the box. Actually, I can do it here. It'll show you a little bit better. So as you saw in the thumbnail, you'll see the petals flare out quite a bit. So this will be perfect. And you could put some leaves on your flower if you like. I don't think I'm going to do that. I want to look really, I have an aesthetic look I'm going for this to be part of the decor that I'm creating for my mantle. Alright, so from here I'm going to snip the end, pull it through, and I'm going to weave this in before I start working on the petals, just so that as I'm working this, because you're going to be bending this around quite a bit, this is going to be annoying. It might get caught and then it might cinch up, and it's just better to take care of that right now. Right, so for round 2 and all the rest of the rounds, we're going to be doing the same thing, just more of them. Right, so since this next stitch is so close, I'm just going to go in there, slip again, then do my chain 2, or chain 3, work, go into that stitch I was just in, work 2 double crochet, and then 3 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. As you're working your petals, think of it as going in a spiral instead of row to row, because the stitches aren't always going to line up with the stitch count. So for instance, if I finish this petal and it's ready to be secured to the base 4 stitches over, I only have 3 stitches here. So I'm going to go across to what would be where the 4th stitch would be, over on the next round, and do my slip stitch there. And you can do that when you're working your petal itself, if there's only 2 spaces left here and you need to do the 3rd here, because it's such a close distance when you're working with this small of a needle and a fine yarn. It's not going to look, off. It's supposed to be curved anyway. So that's how you're going to work your stitches when the rounds do not line up perfectly. So just keep working your petals in until you have the fullness that you want and have covered the entire base. So now in the last 2 rounds, I've started to pepper in a second color. I know shades of brown isn't everybody's thing. It looks like possibly dead petals, but I'm going for a certain aesthetic here. So how I'm doing it is every other petal on the row before the last will be with the second color. And I'm just working without cutting the yarn, as few ends as possible, just shifting the next row to the back. And then in the very back row, which is the single crochet along the edge, I'm working 10 stitches. So 2 stitches in 5 stitches. So 2 double crochet in each of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. You can't quite fit 3 if you're using the small tiny hook, just to give it a broader petal on the back. You see, compared to the one in front of it, it's a little bit broader, and they're not stacked one on top of the other. I have them staggered just slightly. And then when the flower's done, you can kind of work all the petals to look straight, and it's going to look more like a rose or even a peony. I'm going for the size that will fit in this box. Right? You can see it's already starting to kind of overflow, and I'll have a little more stuffing in there. And then that's the look I'm going for. You can customize this, just make it look how you want it to look, since you know the basic technique of putting these petals on. Okay, it's not difficult, just once you get the technique down, you'll have a beautiful flower for your box, or however you would like to use it. It'd be nice on a hat. Okay, I finished my flower, and I'm going to just start adjusting the petals. Get my box here, just make sure it's the right fit. Put a little, playing around with this little crystal button that I have. Thought I might put that in the center. A little bling. Yep, that's a great fit. And I'll worry about the inside after. So next, I want to install this is a test print of my label, and I will have this as a free download on the post about how to make this. So all the supplies will be listed in the post. The link will be in the description if you would like to use this particular one. So this is going to be sized to fit a box about like this, and if you go a little bit bigger, and I think it'll still look nice if there's a black band showing at the top or bottom. But I would say, let me see. If you're not using the box that I have linked, you can see the height of this. So you could go up as high as, I think, 4 inches, and then you're still going to have to piece it together to go around. So see if that doesn't go all the way around. So what you're going to do is cut it evenly in half and then connect them. And also use a nice piece of paper. It doesn't have to be heavy cardstock, but it should have maybe a satin finish or just a thicker paper, not something as flimsy as regular. But it can still be thin enough that it fits in your printer without jamming it. Maybe a photo paper, like a matte photo paper, if you have some of that or have access to it. I have this paper here that will work. So I'm going to print it out on this and then show you how I put it together. And then also another option is if you want to get really blingy, you can use these. I found these at Dollar Tree. You can find other ones at other craft stores. It's called bling ribbon or a rhinestone ribbon. And I have both colors just to have them on hand. I like a fully stocked craft box. And then something like this you would put here for extra adornment. And these boxes come also in a plain black if you want to be a little more creative. And they come in pink, like a blush color. I think that would be really sweet if you're doing it for a girl's room, or if your own room, if that's the colors that you like. for decoration. So let me get this reprinted and I will come back and start assembling my box. I'm going to have my collar panels ready. And you can attach this with glue, with tape, if you want to do like a double-sided tape look. And I'm probably going to change mine out from time to time. So I'm going to use tape. I just want to figure out my plan. So you see it comes around, mostly around, so this you can see. Just this is the back. So the seam isn't really going to show when I have it displayed up against, I'm going to have this on my hearth, but I'm also going to do a version for the bathroom. I think this would be nice to put a candle in also. It could be pretty. But we're making a flower right now, making a beautiful flower box. And look at my tape. And then I'll do it double-sided so that we don't actually see the tape. My seam on the back, I don't know, look at that. Now from here I want to see how much more room is on the back. So I'll take my tape measure